listening to the Decluttering Club podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Mueller, and it's my mission to equip women to declutter their homes, their time, and their lives so that they can cherish what truly matters. You are listening to the Decluttering Club podcast episode number 35. We are 35 episodes in. You guys, this is kind of crazy. I am feeling so good about this podcast. In fact, today, for the very first time, I spent a little bit of time reading through the reviews that you had left, and I specifically had not looked at them, right? Because I didn't want to know how many people are listening to the podcast. I didn't want this to be a thing where I was just looking for big numbers. So I was like, I'm just doing this podcast because I have things to say to you. I have important things to say, and whether one person hears them or 10 people or 1 million, it doesn't matter, because these are things that I feel called to share with you. So I haven't looked at any of the stats. My team is looking, but I haven't looked. But today I did take a look at some of the reviews that you left, and I just want to tell you, I really appreciate the things that you have said and the difference that the podcast and that our work is making in your lives. So if you've left a review, thank you so much. And if you haven't left a review, we would love it, because it does help more people find the podcast and, get plugged into the Decluttering Club. Okay, so today I want to talk about a couple of things. So this episode is scheduled to publish on New Year's Day, 2024, which is pretty awesome. And, as I'm getting ready for it, I'm just thinking about a couple of things. I'm thinking about how much courage it takes to declutter, right? I'm thinking about courage. I'm thinking about regret. And I'm thinking about new beginnings, right? So that is the focus of this podcast. It takes a lot of courage to declutter. And you might be like, does it really? Like, that doesn't sound like how does that work? But I'm telling you, I have seen this over and over again in our community. I have seen people do things that are scary to them. If you do something that is scary to you, that requires courage. That's bravery. Have you ever thought about that? Did you realize that you are being brave and demonstrating courage when you do something that's challenging and hard to you? I love that idea. I have been seeing people letting go of things that, that they are attached to, but also they realize, like, having this thing and not letting this go is costing me more than it will to let it go. And there's relief on the other side. So I'm seeing this happen over and over again in our groups. Someone lets something go that is very challenging, and they feel good about it, but also they feel like, I just did something pretty hard. That is bravery in action. So I want to encourage you, if you are doing something or if you have done some decluttering, I just want you to notice and acknowledge the fact that that may have required courage on your part. And that's pretty awesome, isn't it? It really is. Okay. Next thing I want to talk about is the value of our things, right? The value of anything that you have in your possession that you're holding on to is not in the thing. All right. It's not in the thing. If it was, we could all look at the thing, at that t-shirt or that coffee mug or, that wedding dress, and we would be able to know what the value was, right? But that's not a way it works, right? You can look at a t-shirt that you've had in your possession for 20 years and you have all the feelings about it and you have all the memories, right? But if you look at a t-shirt that I have had for 20 years, you're going to go, oh yeah, it's a t-shirt and it's running a little ragged and it's a little faded. You're going to have a completely different opinion than I do about the t-shirt. The value is not in the thing, but we think it is, right? We think it is, which is why we struggle to let go, because we're like, if I let go of the thing, I'm letting go of the value. I'm letting go of the memory. I'm letting go of what it means. But the value was never in the thing. The value was always inside of you, inside of your head, inside of your mind. Okay. And so I want you to remember that if you want to let something go, but you're like, but, right? The value was never in the thing. Little story. I was at my boyfriend's house last week and I got a glass out of the cupboard And he said, "Oh, you probably don't want to use that one." He said that one was like, it's monogrammed and it has his initials on it and his ex-wife's initials. He said, "You probably don't want to use that one." I was like, "Baby, it's just a glass." Like, it doesn't bother me. And it was such a good moment, right? Because he has like a lot of feelings about these glasses. He's like, "What should I do with them? Should I give them to my kids? Should I get rid of them? Does anybody else want them?" And I'm like, you could do whatever you want with them. It's just a glass, and I don't mind drinking out of it. It doesn't mean anything to me, good or bad. Right? Do you see how that works? So I think it's really important to remember that, especially if we are struggling to do something, especially if we want to do something, but we're having a hard time. You can just go back there. There's value is not in the things. Okay. Now I want to move on. I have a few thoughts that I want to offer to you as you are looking ahead to the new year. Maybe you're looking back on 2023, right? It's important to do that before we prepare to move on. I have some thoughts that I want to offer to you that you can take on and see. You can try them on, see if they work for you, see if they're useful to you. These are really, really useful to me when I'm considering letting something go. All right, here they are. All right, the first one is, it's okay to buy something and not use it up. Okay to buy something and not use it up. This seems like so basic, doesn't it? But I'm telling you, how many times, if you are like me, how many times have you thought, I need to use that up? Like, I can't throw that lotion out because they haven't used it up. It's still half full. Or the shirt, or or the item, whatever. There's still some left. Now, am I using it? Do I like it? Do I need it? Do I want it? Totally different questions, right? We think by default we're supposed to use things up. And what that creates is that we hold on to things way longer than we need to. So I just want to offer to you that you could start thinking it's okay to let things go. Even, what did I say? It's okay to buy something and not use it up. It literally is. We have all grown up. I think that we have such a culturally ingrained conditioning that says, don't be wasteful. Do things this way. And if you don't, you're wrong. You're bad. You're wasteful. Like, there's a problem with you. And that creates so much shame. But I'm telling you, this is just cultural conditioning. Not everybody believes this, and you don't have to continue operating by those rules. Those are just rules that you were taught and that you've been living by, but you don't have to live by those rules. They're optional, completely optional, and you can decide to change your mind at any time. Okay? All right, here's the next thought. It is okay to let something go for any reason. Any reason. You don't need a good reason. There's no such thing as a bad reason. Your reason can be, I'm letting this go because I want to. Okay? You don't need to say, it doesn't fit my style. You don't need to say, like, I tried my best. You can just let it go for any reason. Maybe you bought something, you thought it was going to work out, didn't work out. No big deal. You're allowed to let that go. Maybe you bought something and then you thought, I'm going to return this. I'm going to take it back to the store. And then you never did. And now it's too late, or you don't have the receipt or whatever, or it's too much hassle. You could let that go. You don't need a good reason. Your reason could just be, I'm letting this go because I want to let it go. Okay? We are adults and we get to do whatever we want. So use that one if you're thinking about, I need a good reason to let something go. No, you don't. That is not true. You can have whatever reason you want. Here's the next one. I love this one. This is so good. Sometimes I let things go because they have served their purpose. Okay? They've just served their purpose. I think sometimes we think we need to squeeze every drop of value out of something like it's a tube of toothpaste. My grandmother used to cut the ends off of tubes of toothpaste so that you could get 3 more days out of them, right? And I think we feel like that about our things sometimes. Well, that couch, there's still life left in it. Don't get rid of that. Just put a slipcover on it, or just like ignore the wear and tear.
So we think we need to squeeze every drop of value out of something, even though it might be old and tired, or we don't like it, or doesn't suit us anymore. I want you to think about, let's consider people. Okay. People can work and work and work, right? And then eventually people get to the age where they retire. People stop working, right? It's pretty common. People decide, you know what, I'm done working here and I want to enjoy my time off. I'm ready to retire. Now, could they keep working? Yes, they could. But they stop and they retire. And we don't think that that's a bad thing. We don't judge the people. Well, you could be working until you're 99. Like, well, what are you thinking? Why don't you squeeze some more value out of your body? We don't do that. We let people retire. Why don't we let our things retire? Maybe for some of those well-worn things, we want to let them retire. We want to let them go because they have served their purpose. And now it's okay to let them go and to say goodbye and, say thank you for your service, right? To the old couch or the t-shirt or, or the dishes or the books or whatever. Thank you for your service. Now you get to go retire. We don't have to keep things just because there might be a little bit of value left in them. And how would your life change if you, took that perspective? Pretty interesting, isn't it? All right. And the last thing I want to share with you, especially as we are, watching the new year turn, I feel like every time it's the new year, I just have this real urge to, to clean up, to freshen up, to start new things. But the thing is, you cannot start new things if you don't make room for them, right? If your house is full of yesterday and last week and last month and last year, there's no room for tomorrow. And there's not really any room for today either. So just think about that. If you want new things, new experiences, new ideas to come into your life, you have to make room for them. They're not going to squeeze their way in. That's not the way it works. You need to make room first, and then the things will show up. And, the things will come in to fill a void. You're probably not going to have an empty house for very long, right? Nature abhors a vacuum. And so we need to make room for those new things to come in. And sometimes that means letting go of the old. And again, even if it's scary, even if we're not done with it yet, even if there's some more value left, maybe we let go just because we are wanting to make room for the new. That means we need to let go of regret. We need to forgive ourselves for maybe any things that feel like mistakes. Or if we changed our mind, all of that, we can let go of that. It doesn't mean that we didn't love the things. It doesn't mean there's not still value left. It just means it's time for us to let go. When you approach decluttering and your home in this way, I know that you're going to have so much more success. You're going to have so much more peace and certainty. And you're going to have the sense of satisfaction that you don't have when you're trying to hang on to the past so desperately. All right. That is what I have for you today, my friends. We'd love to have you come join us inside the core membership if you're not already a member, and go out there and let go of some stuff. I'll see you next week.
That's all we have for you today. If you enjoyed this podcast, would you leave us a review? It would really help us get the word out. To start your decluttering journey, go to thedeclutteringclub.com. That is declutteringclub.com. I'll see you next time.